some respect. Yeah, yeah. I think it's time for reality check. Yeah, reality check. Gotta get you back on cold. Reality check. For the young and the old. Reality check. Yeah, the heal your soul. Reality check. Get ready for the show.
What up? What up, though? How you doing, Eve?
Hey, Dr. Winters.
Hey, you've been making me feel bad. I've been thinking about the last video you did, and you're lifting those weights and doing exercise, and I'm sitting around here being a couch potato. I don't like it.
No, that's you did a lot. You used to play football. I feel like, as you get older, you should be able to relax. Chill. Why can't you chill on the couch if you want to?
Well, because I should be more active. Look. When I was in college, the white girls called me. They used to say, "Here comes Superbot." The sister said, "Here's Superman," and now they're talking about, "Here's the Blob." No. How do I live that down? When I was in college, I had a different voice. My voice for my Superman voice was like this.
Mm.
Then I got this fat voice, and I lost my Superman voice. What? Help me, son! Give me some power, son! Give me some power.
Oh,
How you been doing today, Eve?
I'm doing excellent. Radiating from the vitamin D that we've been able to get over here in between the rain. I love being in the sun, and I found that people love the sun too. It's ancient. It's an ancient love for something that we can't go to, and that made me think about. It made me think about why we even care about it as much as it affects us, and people who've studied it, can talk about the different affects of, and then, well, that seems something powerful. Maybe we would want to give some praise to it, or at least
we've always done that.
I think that okay, so I find that as a teacher of the little ones, I'm relearning a lot of things that I should already know, or maybe do know, but forgot because we're studying that stuff for the test, right? And then until you have to teach it to someone to make sure that they understand it, do you really know it, or did you just learn it for the test? So the sun rotates and the moon rotates and the earth rotates. And I guess I wasn't even really thinking about the sun rotating as much as we are rotating around it, but it would have to, right? It's celestial. It's in the solar system. Nothing in the solar system is static, right?
Well, whatever the white man say, I'm whatever he says, it's got to be right. I'm serious. I'm serious. How you doing? All the way free, Brad Murray. I'm serious. Because see, the thing is, this is at remember, he knows everything. He knows the time scales. He knows what the universe does. He knows when the first man came. He knows everything. And so then, therefore, if he said it, then I'm not going to argue with him. Except when I do my history programs on Thursday. But I love the sun because melanosynthesis. See, melanosynthesis is the whole idea is that just like plants get energy, they get power from the sun because of the fact that our bodies, our skin is full of melanin, and melanin is an energy producer. That's how we get a lot of our energy too. We get a lot of our energy from the sun. We get a lot of our energy from being out in the sun. And so therefore, it's always good to walk on a sunny day. It's always good to praise the mighty sun,
I think that it's so funny to hear people's different relationship with the sun. Everybody loves summertime or being at the beach, or at least most people that I know, I guess because I live in a beach town, or beach, minis in the background. They love the sun too. Unfortunately, it's not time for all of that. So you might hear might hear Baba.
That's family. That's family, you know.
But people's relationship with the sun here in beachland on the East Coast in Virginia, all sorts of people flock to the beach, and you have people who wear covering because they don't want to have any effect of the sun. Sun hurts them, but they want to be outside. They want to be in the heat near the water. And then you've got people who they have clothes on because it's not like that, but they got on bathing suits. They're not too worried about the effects of. They're putting chemicals on themselves to make sure that they're not having any harmful effects. And then there's us. And then some of us I see put on sunscreen. Some of us don't. And I always thought that was funny because I saw this study where they showed people through a UV lens. Did you see that one? Where it said, this is how the sun sees you. And it was like white people who don't have a lot of melanin, how the sun saw them. I guess it really saw them. But then people who had melanin, the sun kind of blanketed over them. And then if you put on sunscreen, well, now the sun can really see you. And it's funny because they were black. The UV camera had the melanin-less people look like very melanin-rich people, but it was the sunscreen or the sunblock barrier protection that was giving them that coating. And I always just found it strange that people had to do so much to keep themselves safe, but they say skin cancer is a very real thing that we should be concerned about. So maybe people who get that should be concerned about it.
I think they should be concerned about it, but it does other things to it. A lot of times, those people who go out there, of that persuasion, a lot of times they end up with bad skin. A lot of times your skin can get rubbery from always being out there trying to get suntanned and stuff like that. But you have to understand is that they long for the sun because, see, you got to remember how Europeans came into existence. Remember, Europeans, they came into existence when black people, back around 10,000 BC, before the Younger Dryas. What happened is that the only people in Europe. How you doing, Matrix 2030 Morpheus? Around 10,000 BC. What happened was during the Younger Dryas, it was a mini ice age. And what happened is that many of these black people, they ran into the caves. And when they ran into the caves, because the caves served as their temples where they practiced their religion. And so these black people ran into the caves. And because they found, in a sense, that they found mastodons. And the mastodons still have grass that they were chewing on when they froze to death. So this shows that it was a real quick freeze. And so these black people, they went into the caves and they didn't come out of the caves until 1400 BC. After they were in the caves. They were in the caves from 10,000 BC to around 1400 BC in the Santorino. And so when these black people came out of the caves, they had lost their melanin. And because they lost their melanin, then that's why there's always been this drive to try to get their melanin back. But at the same time, they want to get their melanin back. They hate us. And they hate us because, see, God, they feel that God took away their melanin. No, you ran into the cave. And when you came out, so when you came out of the cave, you had lost your melanin.
Science.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see, that's why, okay, just like black people, we have we have light-skinned, dark-skinned kids. Well, white people, in a sense, because of the fact that the melanin moved out of the skin into their hair, that's why they have kids that have different color hair. Because, see, because that's that same thing, but because of the fact they lost it, I'm talking about Caucasians, not white Arabs. And because they lost their melanin, it's a hate of you. And they hate you because of the sun. They hate you because the sun abandoned them, they believe. No, but you abandoned the sun. Yeah. See, but again, it's very important to understand is that the sun is everything to us. I need the sun. Absolutely. And I'm not talking about my sons because they're a headache, but I need the sun up in the heavenly sun.
You need them too. I need my sons.
Your mom, you always need your son because you carried him for 9 months.
a 10 for one of them, but let me not go there. The sun is necessary. It grows our food, it keeps us warm. It helps us see things when it's time to see things. And I think that maybe you got me tripping about they ran away from the sun and now they're mad. The sun forsake them. And then you've got all of these different stories where we're the forgotten and forsaken people. And it seems like a self-inflicted wound trying to right itself the right way in history, or at least insert themselves in a better way. If you used to be niggas, then you used to be. And then if you didn't want to freeze, I don't know why that would be something to be ashamed of, as much as maybe you could have gone somewhere else. But you said it was like a flash freeze.
Yeah, it was like a flash freeze during the Younger Dryas.
Yes.
And everything froze so quick. But see, remember, that's where the temples were. They found that you can walk in the caves in Scotland, England, and you can walk in those caves can lead all the way to Turkey underground.
Oh.
Yeah. They had a massive thing, but again, they're our cousins. But the thing is that the sun is so important because of the power that we get from the sun, and the power that we get from the sun is that a lot of times, when they always say, okay, black people had a good time in the South and we could work on the plantation, but no, in Africa, you know what the average temperature is in Africa?
No.
80 degrees.
Oh.
80. But Europeans think it's 100 or 120. No, we don't like it either when it's hot like that. When it's hot like that,
That sounds like Sahara hot, But they want everybody, or at least back when I was in school, they wanted us to think that Africa was full of bush babies and huts and just very primal. I mean, in the textbooks, it was very primitive types of depictions of Africans, and that's before the computer, or not before the computer, but before the internet. So now I think that it's crazy that people are still trying to pass off this people who don't know better because they don't have things, when you can just look up whatever it is you're talking about, wherever it is you're talking about, and just in real time get the lay of the land, or at least what they're presenting to the world as the lay of their land. And then, see that it's not all shanties and, tribes. You've got cities and cars, and it's not all dry season and wet season. I taught 8th grade a couple years back. We had them read A Long Walk to Water. It's about a boy named Salva from the Sudan who comes over here, and it's like a program because the lost boys of Sudan had to flee their homes because of the war. All right, so then it's a program. They come over here, and he gives back by making these wells all over Africa for places that don't have water. So in real time, just a couple years ago, they were trying to pass off that Africa needs water because Africa doesn't have water. And it's like, no, Africa is a very large piece of real estate, right? Maybe there's some places in Africa that don't have water, but that's not everywhere. But in real time, they can sell that story and get money for wells. And okay, I saw the well that the school that I worked at put up, or at least got the money to build or whatever. So I did see a well. Okay, that happened, but just that blanket statement ability to get people to get that money out.
But see, it's very important that you people don't know the history. I remember I was at a conference years ago, and I was doing a presentation using African historical agricultural techniques to make the future brighter. And so then after I got through talking about how if Africans return to maybe cultivating millet and using whole cultivation and producing their own foods, and then after the presentation, my wife, she said, "Clyde, those people were out there talking about killing you. These were Africans, And so then yes, people don't want to be independent. People don't want to think for themselves. And because people don't want to be independent, because people don't want to think for themselves, they'd rather go up on a history that has nothing to do with them. In my new book, the history and culture of Aboriginal Black Americans, I talk about why the Aboriginal Black people worship the sun. And so when these Europeans, they said, why you Black Indians, why you worship the sun? They said, we worship the sun because the sun is everything. The sun gives us life. As you said earlier, the sun gives us life. The sun gives us everything. And so then therefore, in a sense, they say, well, why do you associate sun with God? Associates the sun with God? Because the fact, in a sense, is that the sun is what produces everything that allows us to sustain us. And so then therefore, the sun is a representative of God. Not that we worship the sun, but we recognize in a sense that the sun, because the fact that it gives us sustenance, it gives us light, then therefore in a sense it's very important. But again, that's what I try to do in my book, The History and Culture of Aboriginal Black Americans, is I want to try to see why did we do the things we do? Because see, if you remember Nat Turner didn't believe in Jesus Christ.
He believed in Yahweh.
Yeah, Yahweh, the God of war. He wanted to kick ass. I mean, come on. Jesus can't save you. But the sun is very important. And when you think about it, I mean, I don't know. Eve, do you think Black men and Black women see the sun differently? I don't know.
Yes, I do.
Why? What do you think?
I'm glad you asked. For what I said earlier, the sun rotates, but people don't even think that it's rotating unless that's something that you're into or studying. A lot of people know that the earth is rotating because we have a year. They know the moon is doing something because, it's not always in the same spot. But for the most part, the sun is constant. And unless you're really having like a deep dive there, you're not really paying attention to its movements. So Black men and Black women, how we communicate and how we perceive things is different. And I think we're like the moon and the sun, you guys being the sun and us being the moon. And I think as we're working together to make the planet do what it does, there's periods of absence or periods where we're not, near each other. And then there's periods when we're boom, right on top of each other. And the people in the world, they don't know what to do when that happens, when the celestial beings collide. But I guess that's a very big story for a very specific question. So Black men and women, we move differently, but I feel like when we're with the person we're supposed to be with, then the different movements are in tandem or in unison, and it can really make something multiply or grow or be sustainable or nurtured or, all of the good things that the sun does for the planet. And the planet would be like, a business, a baby, a family, household, whatever it is that they're working on together.
Mm-hmm. That's you're absolutely correct in terms of, women have always identified with the moon. Basically, that's what they invented the calendar. You guys invented the calendar, mainly because of your menstrual cycle. But the point is this: is that I was debating with some brothers the other day, and we were talking about the fact that for many women, they see their as you said, they see their man as the sun, in the sense that many women see their man almost as a god until he gets feet of clay. Most of the time we get feet of clay because we say stupid stuff. But again, in the sense is that when you look up, I think that most women when they look at their man, they want their man to be respectful. They want their man to be upright, and they want their man to set an example. And I think that in a way, that's why sometimes I think that you could in a way associate men with the sun, but I don't know entirely with the sun, because every man shouldn't be seen as the sun. I don't think so, because some of us are some nigger, some of us are some brother fuckers, And
That's true. But the sun is just a big star, right? So if all men are stars and then all women are moons, and then men are from Mars and women are from Venus. No, I'm just playing. No, I think that all men have sun ability, and then all women have that primary moon ability, right? But if they're operating on their own, then they're just a star or a moon, just in space.
But
Not. Well, I mean, I guess they'd have to be moving because they're in space.
but who's the most powerful, the sun or the moon?
Um, Good question. So me and my dude wrote a book, and I wish that I had a platform to be able to
What's
give.
the name of the book?
It's called When the Moon Tried to Replace the Sun. That's the name of our book. It's a children's family book, and we'll have it again for sale when we have some hard copies. But essentially, it answers or continues the question of which is more powerful. But I'd like people to give their own thoughts about what I'm about to say. So if the sun is leading and is not as fast as the rotations of the moon or the earth, then it would be the constant, and then things would be, reacting to. And then from there, I think that I don't know if it's a more powerful thing as much as it's needed in this way more, and then the other things are needed in this way more. There's a balance, because if the sun came too close to the earth, then that part of the earth it wouldn't be that part of the earth anymore. It would be different.
Well, I really feel the moon is more powerful than the sun.
Is it because of the water on the earth?
Yes, yes. Because the fact, in the sense, the moon can create the tides, the moon can create emotions. The moon, in a sense, it regulates us. The plant, the sun, it allows us to survive. The sun allows us, in a sense, to gain substance. But see, the moon affects you. The moon, just like on full moons, many police departments, they be looking, they get on guard during that period, because they feel that when there's a full moon, there's going to be a lot more violence out there.
It
You
is.
know,
Emotions are heightened, and
right.
absolutely, I agree. I agree with that immediate affect. So, if we're talking about if it's a direct cause and effect, which one is more powerful, then sure, the moon can have more power like that. But I think it's funny that we're on opposite sides of this. You're saying that the moon has more power. I'm saying that the sun might have more power.
Why do you think the sun has more power?
I think that the sun has more power because without it, we die. If the moon goes away, that would cause havoc. And it's so crazy we're talking about this. This is my story. This is our story. When the moon tried to replace the sun, everybody was like, yeah, the sun's here all the time. Why not? Why not have a change of pace? Let's go. And it's a party because emotions are up and everybody gets to feel good. But then things start dying, and the waves and the tides, and it's just a lot going on. And again, there's nothing being created, because the thing that allows life to happen, at least on a forestry, herbal, what's the word I'm looking for? On a biological level, we need the sun for that to happen, for seeds to germinate and sprout and give us the food that we need. I guess unless we're moving to a technological society where machines are making everything, and then I guess maybe we wouldn't need the sun. But the people were sad that everything was dying, so they called out to the sun for the sun to come back. And eventually the sun, was like, yeah, it's not their fault that they're emotional people. They got the moon over there, and the sun comes back and saves the day. But I think it's like a mom and a dad. Which one is more important? How can you answer that? Because you need them both. But there's people who are operating with just one, doing better than people who had both. So
I think you need both, but I think that in terms of a family, a father, people don't really think the mom needs a father for her reality. And since the mom may need the father, but see, the thing is, this is that I don't think kids really care about their fathers till they get about maybe 12, 13. Then I think they believe a father is important to them. That's what I don't know. That's what I just noticed with my kids, is that
Maybe.
because see, the thing is, this is that it seems as though as they get older and they want to know more about the world, then in a sense they turn to their fathers, because see, then the father becomes the son. But see, because of the fact that the mom represents that stability, the mom represents that joy, and see a good mother makes her kids feel good, and makes her husband feel good. And so then therefore, in a sense, you see in a woman, in a sense, that whole idea of being sunshine, where she's supposed to be the moon, she still reflects. And see, this is the whole most important thing to understand, is that the sun shines, but then here's the crazy thing: in space it's cold. Go figure. See, so it's something. So is the sun really powerful?
Mm. Again, it is, what is the sun affecting, right? So then in this solar system, the sun is affecting the planets that people in positions of power have said are planets that we need to pay attention to.
Well, Venus is cold. Jupiter is cold. I mean, one of them is real hot. Saturn or Jupiter. One of them is real super hot. Most of them are real cold. And so then, therefore, if space is cold and if space is dark, then in a sense, is the sun. The sun is important, and the sun is very important, especially in terms of how it affects us. How you doing, Dorville? But at the same time, the sun, it has an influence only on this plane, you see. But then again, the astrologers say that stars play a role, and stars are sun, and the power. Where's this power coming from? Why do we need this power? And how do we gain this power? And I do believe in melanosynthesis, and melanosynthesis is the whole idea that melanin in your skin, it absorbs in a sense energy from the sun, and it gives us that little extra. How you doing, Eugene Braxton, American most experienced mystic? I think that it's very important in a sense that we think about, how do you get this power? How can we center this power? How can we get the power? And then in a sense is that we're thinking about the sun, but then is the president the sun? Is the CEOs the sun? Come on now. Is our celebrities the sun? They act like it. They call them stars.
They call it. Hey, that's a good point. Those people in those positions of power who label things that we're supposed to pay attention to, they know that we're people who track the stars. So then, words have meaning, and then we don't care. We're just throwing them away. But then they're giving very powerful words to things that might need to be deprioritized. If you weren't looking at entertainers as stars, then maybe you wouldn't be worried about if Diddy got on the plane or not. Like, you got your own problems to worry about, but no, everybody wants to talk about something else. So then maybe that is a sun, if it's absorbing all of the energy. But is that a sun, or is that like a black hole? Because I feel like a sun is just giving energy. And like you said, it's only really affecting us here on Earth with regards to what we're able to grow or sustain. I mean, just life, because life like this doesn't exist on those other planets that are in our solar system. So, how much power does the sun have really? Or is it just our proximity to, what we have on this planet? And I don't know if there's any other melanated beings on other planets in the solar system, but, maybe our presence here in general is why the sun does what it does with the things that are on the planet.
Yeah, and it's the sources of power, and how do we see, and it's how we give people the power of the sun, by the simple fact that we bow down to whatever they tell us, by the simple fact that we allow people to lead us. I mean, just about most of us, is that certain people, like I'm not going to tell a lie. In a way to me, Professor Black is like the sun. Because Professor Black, when I wake up every day, I try to find him when he was off for a week. Professor Black, you broke my heart. but the thing is, this is that Professor Black, in a sense, he seems to be legit. And the thing is, this is that he always gives us this knowledge, this power. And what I like about him is that it's not centered in a particular direction, except as information that allows you to grow. And I think that's what the sun is like, isn't it? Doesn't the sun allow us to grow?
I would agree with that comparison. And I guess just a shout out to him, because I guess I've had this initial thought from something that he said about power just being. It just is, and then from there, I couldn't come up with what just is. The sun just is. And you're right. He's an on-time, consistent source of fuel for people who need that type of, nourishment. And then they can go.
Yeah. But, years ago, I'll never forget that when you were with Professor Black. And then, Professor Black said he can't say no to you. Why is it that people can't say no to you? Why? What? You're supposed to be the moon. But I hear people all the time say, I can't say no. I can't say no to Eve. Why? What is this? That's power. Is that coming from the sun too?
It is a reflection, like you said. And thank you. I think that if people want something, then they have to, do the work to get it. But people are funny. What I mean by that is nobody's the same. But if you're the same, then they can't do anything but either rock with you or not rock with you. And today, something that I heard, I had a wonderful conversation with the creator of Optimus Prime, and he was talking about power too, and it kind of all came back to Eve is persistent. And from there, I am. So if that's the Eve you met, then I would agree with that definition of me, because I am. If it's something that I want, then I'm definitely going to try to get it or bring it to you. And some of these conversations I feel are super necessary. So I'm gonna go above and beyond to try to make sure that it happens, to get the information out there. And as I'm only a reflection, I feel like my immediate example, my dude, the leader of our household, he goes out and gets things done. Yeah. I can't work like that, or at least he doesn't want me to, because it's dangerous out there in the streets. So, but that kind of brings back to what you said about the mom and the dad, and how your children or your minis didn't really start looking to you until about 12. And it's because the mom is the first teacher, and we're here in the home, and dad's out getting it done. He's doing the work. He is out in the world. So who would you go speak to about the world but the person who's out there experiencing it? Not that your mom can't or that she won't. And even now in 2024, women are working. It's not like we're in the house or anything, but as a people, we're cavemen like. So, people
why do you say you're cavemen like? I don't understand.
People are cavemen like because they get home and they're home. They don't go outside. Their blinds are shut. They're not socializing with their neighbors. And unless there's something to go do, I don't see a lot of people outside unless they're homeless, or unless it's nothing to do during the pandemic. There's a lot of people outside, strangely, because you weren't supposed to really be around other people, but people were outside because places were closed. So it's like there was nothing to do. So I'm gonna just go outside. But now, people have kind of reverted back to, I'm home, I've got my device, I got my TV, I have my food, I have everything I need here in my little cave. What do I need to go outside for? And that's life for a lot of people every day. Doesn't matter the season unless they're going to do something specific. maybe back in the day, or at least when we were people who sourced our own food, we had to be outside more. How are you going to eat if you weren't? But now things are easy, so we can be caveman like, bring everything in the cave. Don't
Well,
have to move.
how you doing, Tia, to you and Dorville and Chill Will 2050? What up, dude? But I also feel in the sense is that what happened is that to me the pandemic destroyed the universe. How you doing, Karen Benzin? It destroyed our universe because I was talking to some people, and just the fact that now Walmart is in 24 hours. That's made a very big difference because the Great Blackness, what up? That made a very big a big difference because when Walmart was open, it was someplace for you to go. Now in a sense you had to kind of almost just about stay in your cave, and because you almost had to stay in your cave, then therefore in a sense it's mainly because the fact is that so much is limited now. So much is limited now. And I mean, you used to love the springtime because the springtime, you drive in your car and you see the women in their booty shorts. Not really. I wasn't even looking at stuff like that.
No, of course.
That's just what my sons told me.
Right.
But anyway, as soon as it get kind of warm, everybody kind of dresses nice, But what happened after the pandemic is that everybody just got so fat. They got so fat, and it's the truth. It's the truth.
It is. I remember an email that I got from our principal at the school that I was working at. And it was because we were going back to work after the pandemic and virtual and stuff. She said, for the rest of the year, you can wear jeans. And the whole school applauded. All the teachers were so excited about wearing jeans to school. And, essentially it was just because she was telling them that she knows that your business clothes don't fit anymore and you don't have to go buy stuff, but you can be business up top, and, you can wear your party time at the bottom, but don't get all carried away. No ripped jeans, but you can wear your jeans or your sweats or joggers or whatever. And you're right. A lot of people got fat during the pandemic, but that's because they were stuck in their caves, or they weren't. They were just outside with nothing to do. And while that's a whole oxymoron, I guess, I went to go buy skates, like roller skates, and they were sold out because everybody was doing these outside activities now, things that they didn't used to do, where there used to be a surplus. Now there isn't a surplus, and actually it's a back order, and you have to wait for all of this stuff now. So,
but it's kind of hard because the pandemic, what happened with that is that I know a lot of bowling alleys and a lot of skating places, a lot of them closed down, and they haven't been able to reopen. And so in a way, people have lost power. People have lost the ability to get out there in the sun and generate, in a sense, generate good feelings, generate good times. Most of the time, if you got a good relationship with your partner, a lot of times you have more fun just going around, walking around the beach or walking around the park or being together. That it doesn't necessarily cost money, to really have a good time, you see.
yeah.
But the point is this is that in reality, it's harder now to be able to really appreciate the sun. And that, like you said, unless you got to go out, you don't go out. But the thing is this, that we need to be out. We need to be out there, especially as a Black person, you need to be outside. That's why people used to sit on their porches and everything.
You do. If you go to the doctor for a checkup, they're going to tell you have a vitamin D deficiency. And then they're going to try to pump you with vitamins. And I'm not saying that you don't have a vitamin D deficiency, but I am saying that it's very easy fix if you just take your ass outside. But most of us after school, or I'm sorry, if you weren't a person in sports, outside playing, if you weren't riding your bike, being social like that, it was an uphill battle for you anyway, because you didn't have any reason, really. People who were doing sports, the game is outside, the field is outside, the competition is outside. So you have to be outside. You got to be ready for the elements. Kind of gives you a thick skin. And then, well, sometimes that carries over into adulthood where people still, do things. They hang out outside, or they have children like how we do, and we play with them, and, we're doing things out and about. However, I think that the socializing aspect, that the pandemic really kind of messed up being outside, because nobody really wants to talk. And hi, I'm Eve. I'm a person who doesn't really like to talk to people outside. I very much want to get what I'm trying to get and get home, or get to the next destination, or if I want to be outside, let me enjoy being outside without having to talk. But I'm trying to get over that, because in real time, I feel like the fact that we don't talk to each other it's hurting us too. I think our connectedness as a people, it might be nurtured by the sun, but if you're told to stay inside, or if nothing outside interests you, and everything you want to do is on the screen or inside, then, we're not going to be able to level up as a people.
But do we really know any better? Karen Van Zin says, I have a lot of windows in each room of my house. That's
Are they blind? Are the blinds open, Karen? Because I have about 38 windows in my house, and I'm going to tell you, the only blinds that are open are the specific ones that I want open when I want them open.
Well, I have a lot of windows in the house I bought, because I bought my wife a new house before after we had been a little bitty house for years. I decided to buy her a big house, a lot of green, and full of windows. And now she's not even here with me to enjoy it, but that's life. But the thing is that I do think that Karen is right. You do need to let the sun shine in. You do need, in a sense, to bring this stuff in, but see, this power from the sun is so important, because the fact is that a lot of kids, they're staying in the house and not going out. And because they're not going out, they're always on the video, playing video games. And as you said, a lot of us are couch potatoes and stuff. And, and so the thing is that we need to get out. But then what makes it so bad is that if you did play sports, the big problem is when you get old, all these ailments come back, like I played linebacker. So this thumb is always killing me. It's always killing me because I used to get a lot of dropped thumbs, when you batten down balls and tackling people. So this thumb, it'll just be throbbing, your knees. I remember, David Imhotep, may rest in power. He lived in Virginia, Roanoke. He lived down in Roanoke, and he died. He died last year, and we used to talk a lot because I played linebacker, and David Imhotep, he played running back. But since he was born earlier in the year, he always called me. I was his little brother, But the point is that it's the beauty of recognizing and being out there, being in the sun, as you said, being athletic, having fun, and that's the most important thing. And I think that that's what hurt people. I hear these people talking about dating, and they're talking about, men don't like to date anymore. Women say they can't find anybody to date. But then the thing is that they don't know how to really enjoy it. A lot of times, if we really allowed ourselves to really absorb the everyday stuff, the sun, getting to know each other. But everything is so transactional now. Okay, I'll take you out. Well, you better have sex with me later, and and so then everything is for a price. And I think that you can get so much power from the sun, and that because you can get this power from the sun, and it's free. It's free. You see. Now those people who go to tanning places and all that, now that's different. But the power that you can get from the sun is free, and it's there for the taking, But we're so afraid, and I know you said earlier you don't like to talk. I don't. I don't mind talking, because when I see a sister, all sisters always have a frown on their face, but I can always make them smile because they say, "Damn, come on, stop that." I'm old, so you don't have to worry about me messing with you. And then they start smiling, and see, because a lot of times as a woman, as a black woman, you don't want people messing with you. So even though you may look nice, even though you may look really good, you don't want, in a sense, people always be trying to talk to you. So that's kind of something that we have to think about. And sometimes that's why you see a lot of frowns on sisters' faces. But I understand that that's just their outward appearance. But again, when you don't know your community, then you don't understand what's going on. Great Blackness says, yes, it is powerful, and it is. But there for us waiting each day. The sun is powerful. Yes, it's powerful, you see. But we have to, in a sense, we have to understand what's going on. And then, Karen Vincent says, I can see the moon from my second floor window. I'm sitting here and I can write through my curtains. I blinds are up. Yeah, you keep the blinds up, but again, it says my wife, she is kind of interesting. Great Blackness, right? Oh no. My wife, though, she was kind of interesting. Said she wanted always the windows open. She wanted always the curtains open and stuff. And I used to always say, well, what about those peeping toms? I'll get out of here, Clyde. And so she always wanted to have a lot of sunshine around the house. And the thing is this is that she enjoyed that. But see, the whole point is this is that, that was her. She liked to walk and stuff and all that type of stuff. And she was always about exercise. You know how you ladies, y'all like to keep in shape. Us, well, we're coming there, but the thing is, this is that I think that the more that you can allow the sun, the more you can allow the sun to if you can reflect some of that power from the sun, I think it gives you a greater understanding of life, and I think that most of us really don't live life. We don't live life because we refuse to really accept the sun power being outside. I don't know,
I agree with you. I find that the people who like to be in the caves, their skin's a little lighter. They're not as energetic, and these devices they absorb energy, and then the sun is giving out energy. So if you're not around the giver, then the taker is really gonna take. And if you never replenish that energy, then you're going to be tired all the time. And people are tired all the time, and it's not because they did anything. You should not be tired from being in front of a screen for 8 hours. Like if that was your job. If all you did was you got in the car, you drove to work, you sat down, logged in, you got lunch, came back, logged in, got back in the car and went home. You should not be tired from that. But you are, because these devices are vampires and we're pouring all of whatever into it, whatever your job is, or even if you're just a person who just exists online all day, you're pouring into it. And then you're never taking a pause or a beat. You're not plugging in, and you could, but the time of day that you're plugged into the device is the time that the sun is doing its thing. So then you miss out on the benefits. And it's a really fucked up system if you really think about it. It sounds like people want us to be away from this energy giver. And for what? Is it because it doesn't treat them the same? Because I'm sorry, I keep hearing these people with no melanin saying that they were slaves in Egypt. And I just don't, that math doesn't math to me, Dr. Winters. It will never math to me. There was no sunscreen back there. There was no sunblock back then. And if I'm sorry, I've seen people with sunburn. And if that is your reality, that being in the sun too long without protection makes you look like this, well, you were not a slave. How were they getting any work out of you if that is what you look like in the sun? That doesn't make
you would have died.
I'm saying. And then they say, no, Black people, you need to use sunscreen, sunblock. And then I'll say, well, our ancestors, you weren't worried about them, and they were living to very big ages if they weren't, killed, essentially. uninterrupted, even with all of the work and all of the sun exposure and all of the sun. Very big ages.
Yeah.
Harriet Tubman lived to be how old with all of the trips to back and
Yeah.
what
What
are you talking about?
And when you hear slaves slaves enslaved people live to be 80 years old, here to you, those of us that are original man to this land get automatic downloads from the sun. It's very important to really look at this stuff, because when you think back, is that and people get mad at me, but see, as black people, we hold the Bible as sacrosanct, that it's sacred, and we everything's the word of God. But see, those first books, that's not the word of God. That's history. Chronicles, Genesis, all that type of stuff. That's history. And yet we know, in a sense, people who've done the research, we know that the Egyptians did not have slaves build the pyramids or build any monuments. Most of the time they did the work. Did the work They did the work during the non-planting season. And then, in a sense, we got evidence that the Egyptians paid wages, or they got food. And then they would go. Then, when it was time to harvest or plant, then they would go back to the fields. And we know this. And yet you got some people who just in a sense became Hebrews, in the Caucasus Mountains, years and years afterwards. And yet these are the original people. And it's just so sad that because people don't really become invigorated by the sun, that they lose their sense of history. And see, history is very important, because you've been taught that they've been ruling the world for 2,000 years, and that's a lie. They only started, we were ruling them from 711 AD to 1492. And then from 1492 to about 1700 to about 1800, they was engaged in wars. And then the next, no European civilization has lasted longer than 200 years. They just don't last longer than 200 years, because they go into a process in which they become very non-productive. What I mean non-productive is that they turn away from the natural stuff, man and woman, having children, and everything is to be non-productive, and that they're all, as long as I've been in school, and even when I read A Christmas Carol, they're always talking about overpopulation, the same thing, and yet we see so many empty places. And we see that if people take advantage of the sun in terms of the power it has to give us sunlight, to allow us to grow, that there is plenty for everybody. And yet, in a sense, is that you always have these people who happen to be in control today, always telling you that there's limitations in terms of what you can do. There's limitations in terms of how you can live. And that's not really, in a sense, correct.
It's crazy. Limitations on renewable resources, right? Sunlight, water, wind. No, you have to pay for those things, because if you don't, well, anarchy and chaos abound. I don't know if we need all of these limitations as much as people can abuse things if there aren't certain stipulations in place. And sometimes I feel like that's a projection of sorts. Not that everybody's going to be like that, but yeah, some people are going to be like that. And maybe there need to be protections in place for people who are going to abuse things that are in abundance. But if it's always, then can it be abused like that? Or is the withholding of the abuse? And you can't withhold the sun, right? But you can make people stay inside for the hours of the day that they would get the most benefit. You can make them stay inside by telling them that you need money to pay bills, and you gotta live. You need money to eat. Why? Because you're not out there growing it yourself. And if you were growing it yourself, you need money to buy these tools that, okay, you don't need money for that either, but you need money for this special soil and special fertilizer, special seed, there's money to be made. And if there is money to be made, then there's going to be somebody abusing it. So
look at it, is that It's so much, people can't even enjoy. Can you imagine? I was hearing on the news a couple of weeks ago how there's people who are making $100,000 living in their cars, $100,000 a year living in their cars, and it's so many people living in their cars. It's so many people that can't take advantage. Like you said, is that we spend all day at work, and you go to work in the morning, and then I can enjoy the sunshine. I'm retired, so I can enjoy it. But anyway, I can enjoy it. But I used to couldn't enjoy it. And the thing is this is that it's just so sad is that we don't do anything. Back in the day when I was growing up, the front porches was always full of people. You know, even all the way until even after and then after they'd always say get home by sundown by the time the street lights came on. And then the people would be on the front steps and still talking and relating. And now we're just so afraid of one another. A lot of us are afraid of one another. And a lot of us are always feeling that somebody's going to hurt us. And yes, we've always been a little cautious. I mean, growing up, it's always been gang banging, always been shooting. And as a black teenager, you was always a kind of afraid as a male that you could get hurt. But I think that today people are so afraid, and because of the fact that people are afraid of each other, people refuse to really allow themselves to really enjoy the power of the sun, and to get out there. We're not really using our parks like we should. The museums. We're not really, in a sense, really going out there and getting that power that can generate among us. More interest in the world, interest in who we are, interest in each other. And I think that because of the fact that people don't have time to communicate, I think that that's one of the reasons why we find poor relationships. I don't know.
No, you're right. You're right. They even took the sun away from the babies, because when I was in school, I think all of grade school had recess. And then as I got older, some grade school got recess, the little kids got recess. And then in college, I found out that, the little kids got recess. And then, now you're only outside for specific things again. So it's like, damn, they don't even want the babies to get that charge up, that energy boost. And I think that it's more than an energy boost. It's got to be maybe the melanin in our brain maybe gets an energy boost, and maybe it gives us thoughts that we wouldn't have otherwise. I'm not sure. Or maybe it uncalcifies things. Everything that well, not everything, a lot of the things that we ingest and put in our bodies is making other things not work, so absence of things that would help us along, you're talking about your joints, and I have a tea for that. I'm gonna send you some tea, Dr. Winters. We're gonna
It won't help. It won't help.
It's gonna get things. Well, no, it's not gonna make your thumb not do what it's coming. No, but it arthritis and joint pain. Yeah, it can address that. But people don't like some of these easy fix because they're not easy fixes. When I say an easy fix, I mean nature gave it to you. Easy. People think easy fixes are I popped a pill and pain is gone. Easy. That math doesn't math either.
But you're absolutely correct. Is that natural things are very important. And the thing is, this is that back in the '60s, I remember I was reading this article once that's talking about that black people had the best diet in the world because we only had a little meat in our food. It was mainly all vegetables and stuff like that. But then my generation said, forget that. We were tired of eating pigtails, pig feet, and all that type of stuff. You just don't know all that. But the thing is, this is that it's very important in the sense that we go back to nature. And then I used to love Cheerios, and then they said that they're putting stuff in Cheerios to affect your gender. Hey, damn! Can't I have something? Can't we have something?
The bio whatever genetic engineered stuff, man. Okay, here's how I like to shop. just if you wanted to know, if anybody wants to know. This is how I like to shop. If the ingredients are more than what I can pronounce, it's probably not something I need to be eating a lot of. Not that I'm not going to eat it, because look, people think that I'm holier than thou. I'm not. I drink Slurpees sometimes, like that Red 40. Ah, man. And sometimes I let the kids drink Slurpees, but it's not an everyday thing. It's a moderation thing. And our bodies were made perfectly to be able to withstand pretty much anything you do to it, as long as you're doing things that help it along the way, giving it appropriate sunlight, giving it the right amount of water. People aren't doing those basic things and then, mad that they got a cold. Okay, your body's trying to help you out by getting that mucus up out of you, but no, you can't even appreciate your body cleaning itself. You think that everything's wrong and you need to take a pill for it. I mean, I guess if it's debilitating, then maybe you do need to do something about it. But that quick fix thing, I think the sun can do that. The sun can do that for some things, be a quick fix. Some people with depression, periods of time outside in the sun, doing things that make sense, have shown to make them have a better outlook on things. And I think that that's crazy, because it's all about our perception. Same person, nothing significant happened except for their exposure to this life source. And then, the positive reinforcements, all of it together, can help them along the way. And I just think that the sun is power, but it's not saying the moon's not power too. We just weren't really talking about the moon just yet.
Yeah, well, the moon, I think the moon is powerful, but the sun is everything, because I mean, just like now, just about all of us, because of the fact that we spend so much inside, and those of us who have to work, that you just about have to take vitamin D. You have to take a lot of vitamin D to keep up that. And then with these pandemics going around, you got to take a lot of zinc, because if you don't take the zinc, and therefore things break down, and then they're trying to attack us from a genomic basis. In other words, they're trying to go straight to your genes to affect you, and then that's kind of sad, because Natty, what up though? Natty says in nature, all the albino animals in general never make it long because they stand out to their predators. That's true, but Europeans are not albinos. That's because they can tan, and because they can tan or they wear clothes, they can see albinos is a different state. But see, we always like to, in a sense, try to find some way to give people relativity when really there is none. Let's take a break with a few commercials. Yes, commercials.
Buy our stuff.
My book Blacks and Europe. Try to.
What's up, everybody? It's Eve. Follow me on. What's up, everybody? It's Eve. Follow me on Twitter and YouTube for space recordings and special live programs. 2024, we're doing things a little different if you haven't peeped game by now. So yeah, this is your chance. You can do it now if you want. Hit the bell here on YouTube at JustEveB, or find me on X at Justice4 Just Us. That's JUSTICE 4 JUST_US. And if you feel so inclined, support my channel and the work we do over here. The Cash App and Patreon links are in the description. Black first.
Don't forget to try to get one of those sweatshirts. Hey, I've just written a new book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals of America. Yes, I've written a new book. This book is called History and Culture of Afro-Americans. It's about the Aboriginal Americans. It's about the first people who inhabited America. Many people don't know about our great culture, this super culture that we created, but I discussed this book. In 489 pages, you'll find out so much information, great information, about, in a sense, what the Aboriginal foundational Black Americans did. You're going to see, in a sense, that Black people contributed much here. When the first Europeans got here, that's what they found. Yes, they found Black Aboriginals inhabiting the Americas. It was the Black Aboriginals that built this country. This is why you had to get my book, History and Culture of the Aboriginal Blacks of the Americas. In this book, you will find out the truth. You will know what we created. You will know who we are. Get this book. Buy it now. Today is today. We need to homeschool our children due to white supremacy. In many states, education departments are passing laws to deny our children from learning the history of foundational Black Americans. Today, you can learn how to organize and teach your children in a homeschool in my book, A Guide to Homeschool Foundational Black Americans. You can use my book, History of Blacks in America from Prehistory to 1877, to teach our children their history here in the United States. You can use my book to teach world history. And this book I've written is called The World History of the Black World. This will teach your children about every Black civilization in the world. Get this book. The time is now. Get these books to teach your children about their greatness, to prevent them from losing confidence in their own ability to learn and be successful future adults in employment and education. Hey, it's time for the Afrocentric Researcher course led by Dr. Clyde Winters. Join this course. The 15-week Afrocentric Researcher course will begin on April 16, 2024. It will last between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can go to clyde98.gumroad.com/L/ to join the class. The Afrocentric Researcher course is vital. In this course, you will learn how to do research. It will help you to write and conduct research. You see, you're going to learn how to do research. You're going to learn how to interpret research literature. And you're going to learn how to write books and articles. Yes, books and articles. And you're going to learn how to use research data to improve your small business. Already, in a sense, many former students have begun to write articles and books that they published. You too can write these articles and books after you take my class. You can make a single payment of $599. You can go to clyde98.gumroad.com/L/ZBWRJR, or you can make monthly payments. Go to clyde98.gumroad. Join me for my 15-week Afrocentric Researcher course. It's going to be the class that's going to help you to really be a success. It's going to start April 16, 2024, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us. Join us in this class. Learn how to do research. It's up to you.
What's up, everybody? It's Eve. Follow me on Twitter and YouTube for space recordings and special live programs. 2024, we're doing things a little different if you haven't peeped game by now. So yeah, this is your chance. You can do it now if you want. Hit the bell here on YouTube at JustEveB, or find me on X at Justice4Just_Us. That's JUSTICE, 4 JUST_US. And if you feel so inclined, support my channel and the work we do over here. The Cash App and Patreon links are in the description. Black first.
If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. Vampires they prey on your fears and stay away. Vampires Don't let them take your energy. Don't let them suck control your energy. Distraction away from me. I am you and you control your energy. Don't let them take your energy. Don't let them suck your energy. It's a distraction away from me. I am you and you are me. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who don't follow nobody but yourself. Don't follow. I said nobody but yourself. Don't follow nobody but yourself. Don't follow yourself. Nobody yourself. Nobody but yourself.
You got to protect the brain, and that's why it's beautiful. You got to support the people who stand up. If you're
Oh,
not going to speak up,
Bob.
family, you got to support them. You got to support them. I mean, people like Professor Black. You don't have to get out and try to. You don't have to get out and try to talk to us and take the time. I mean, yeah, and he's not getting paid for that. I mean, you don't make a lot of money off YouTube unless you can get 1 million views like Shay Shay. Sharp and some of those people. But the thing, so support the people out there trying to stand up for us. Support those people who take the time. How you doing, Brad Murray and Jalen Prasad? Oh no, you got to be supportive. That's one of the things that make Eve such a beautiful woman. Is that she takes the time to speak up. She's not afraid to really speak her mind, and she's ready to be supportive. And we have to support people like that. All of us don't have the time to do this. And you're always taking a chance when you do this. Why are you taking a chance? You're taking a chance that people don't understand where you're coming from. Support the brain, support those people who speak up. Because when, at least if you're supporting those people, at least that makes them feel that they should do this. That's if you want to really get some sunshine, you want to get some power, support those people. They don't have to do that.
That's a very timely commercial. Shout out to Yoshi. He is a creative dude, man. My hat's off to him. Certain art, it's foreign to me, and I really respect people who can, do certain types of things and make their sound make sense. And thank you, Dr. Winters, because I find that, well, some people don't like asking dumb questions, and probably because of people like me. So I apologize in advance. I absolutely think that there are dumb questions, but I also think that be ready for the person's response. Whoever you're asking the question of, you got to be ready for their response. In real time, I've had teachers tell me that that's a dumb question, but I've also had teachers tell me that they know that other people didn't want to ask the question. So, okay, there's that. And I guess it's a hit and miss. Maybe you don't know it's a dumb question because you don't speak up, or maybe there are no dumb questions and you just need to be able to understand it. The person didn't speak it to you the way that you could get it. And that happens all the time. People learn things differently. So I apologize for being that type of a one-minded person, but as it stands, there's not a lot of people who want to speak up anyway. So
David says, Dr. Winters, why has R1A and American Indians been suppressed? That's because of the fact that this is that very few American Indians would carry R1A, and R1A is basically in a Y haplogroup that you find in places like Chad and Cameroon, and not that many people came here from Chad and Cameroon. The original Aboriginal Black Americans carried R1B, and that's Anzac Man, 10,000 years old. And it's very interesting that 25% of Black people today still carry R1B. That shows, in a sense, that some of us are 10,000 years old. You're old, but again, it's very important to take into account is that the sun is everything for us.
When people talk about power, you've got people who use power the right way, and then you've got people who abuse power. And then I find that most people don't want the responsibility. They don't want to be a person who's going to treat people bad because they feel like they have to prove a point. And they don't want to be the person who everybody's mad at because they didn't do, what everybody wanted them to do. And I think that, when we're tackling some of these basic concepts here on Reality Check, it's okay for you to come to this conversation at wherever you are in understanding, because I don't know everything, but I know that the sun is a pretty constant motherfucker. And if we can have any example, we can look to nature. I've had a couple conversations with Mr. Neely Fuller, and he makes things so simple. He can revert things back to nature and then say, Eve, why are you making it so complicated? And yeah, maybe I did. Maybe I overcomplicated this. Maybe we do that. We want a bigger, better answer for something that we already know. If you're feeling a little drained, go outside, get some sunlight, see if that gives you a little perk.
Brad Murray said, I was drawn to Just Eve because I needed a woman perspective to listen to, who was articulate, clear, and concise. A lot of good information. Yeah, yes. That's why she's here. That's why she's bringing to you, and we're trying to bring to you these ideas. But more than that is that you have to understand is that the sun generates its power, and because of melanosynthesis, because of the fact in the sense is we're always trying to metabolize this energy that's coming from the sun, that it allow us to be able to be who we are. And most of the time we're not allowed to be who we are. And see, the thing is that many women, let's just face it. I'm not going to tell a lie. They talk a lot about the Black Power days. The Black Power days, they felt a sister should be in the kitchen cooking some chicken. Can you cook chicken, Eve?
I can. Yeah.
You better not say you can. But anyway, they wanted sisters in the kitchen, and see that's the whole point. That's why we need sisters like Eve and others to go out there and give a woman's point of view, because see, everything is always from a man perspective. You see, like I always go back to when we had a Beta Junior Club, and our junior achievement club was for kids who were had A averages and stuff like that and stuff, and see, I was one of the male coordinators, and the rest were all women. Now I said we wanted to give our kids a kick-ass spirit, a kick-ass attitude. And the ladies would say, Dr. Winters, no, don't tell the kids that. I said, well, hey, it's no parents around. You go out and and so it's very important. I mean, what do you think? What do you tell your kids? And I know they're young, very young, but what do you try to tell them?
No, if you ain't first, you're last. No, we very much are rearing some competitive minis over here. And by default, I think because we're both competitive, and then on purpose, because we want them to be able to be confident in their ability. And, when everybody gets an award because you did it, then you don't know that you're the shit. And if you do something that makes people look at you like, whoa, I can't do that, that's really cool, you should get, respect for that. So, which every time you've told me that story about those women, they wouldn't have liked me because I would have been, no, we're going to go out there and we're going to kick ass, take names, and, take no prisoners. And we have to foster this competitive spirit in our minis, specifically because I feel like they were taught to cower. So many kids but I've heard so many stories, and just in my own story, of you're too loud. This is not the time or place for that. And maybe the library isn't the time or place to be all extra loud. But, kids are getting told they're too loud in the grocery store, or they're too loud at the mall, too loud in public. And what is that other than you just don't want to hear them? And why don't you want to hear them? It's all sorts of different dark, nasty layers of why children's voices get suppressed. But I think it's even more ingrained from, if you spoke up, then maybe you got a target put on you. So you have to move in silence. You can't just be the person that says, I got the plan. I got the, you can't do that, because then now everybody's paying attention to you, and not the people you want to pay attention to you. The other people are now paying attention to you. So, maybe you can't be so loud, but you should be confident. And
But I think also back then there was a different women. I think the women teachers of my generation, they weren't involved in athletics, because a lot of times we went to urban schools. A lot of us didn't have tracks. Just like when I ran track, we had to set up the hurdles on the third floor. And can you imagine? You know how we did?
I know exactly how that is.
Hurdles, and you're trying to jump over hurdles on the third floor. You're running track on the third floor. A lot of times your pool wasn't that good, so you didn't have swimming, and they even had even less. They didn't even have girl basketball back then. So I think that in a sense the women were more domesticated back then. In a sense, we had home economics, and I think that's one of the reasons why women didn't. A lot of women who would help me manage clubs back then didn't really think you should be trying to encourage kids that had kick-ass spirit. Whereas I think you said you ran track, and a lot of girls now could be on basketball teams and things like, and track, basketball, soccer. So then I think that gives you guys from a different generation, a different attitude than those women back in the day.
Oh yeah, for sure. So no knock on them. Competitive in a different way, for sure. But just I very much believe that parents should do something physical activity type of competitive something with their child, because if you're not helping them with their confidence, then outside's going to help them with their confidence. And that might not be the help that you want them to have. Maybe they're overly cocky, or maybe they underperformed because they were told that it's not their job. There's a special kid on the team. Coach's son is on the team. So pass the ball at coach's son all the time, even though Daquan can shoot better than coach's son. But, now he can't. And I've at the same school that we've been talking about, the track team didn't have a track. So I had to I had to drive them in sets to a track so that we could practice like the white schools, because the white schools had tracks. So we had a track team, no track. How do you even teach the concept of running around a circle to children who don't have a circle to run around? That it's a setup. So they definitely withhold resources from us so that we can't be as competitive. But in the same breath, I've seen children who, they don't have those same resources, but they outperform, they excel, they have it in them, and they just need somebody who's on their side to help nurture that. It should come from home. Home should be preventative care across the board, whether it's health, education, I don't know, whatever else, spiritual stuff, entertainment. Home should be a preventative department on your life, and then all of the outside influences, because you got a barrier. But
I think it's very difficult because back in the day, like my wife, she never worked and she got mad and said, I want to work. I said, well, go get a damn job. You're keeping me from a job. I wasn't keeping you getting a job. You'd like to have babies and raise the little ones and stuff. That's what I think. But that was but I mean, hey, so the point is that she did have the opportunity to stay home, even though it would have been better if maybe she would have worked. But see, you guys got to work. I mean, your generation got to work. I mean, if you're 50, if you're 50 and younger, you got to work, and your wife got to work. If you guys want to live, you don't want to survive. You want to be able to enjoy the sun. You want to get that power from the sun, and to be able to enjoy the sun, get the power from the sun, you have to have those monies, and those monies come from two salaries, and a lot of times, in a sense, I was looking at at a thing the other day, and it was talking about the average salary for Black people in this country is $22,000. What the hell is that? And now the average salary for white people is $31,000. What? 31,000? Because everything is moved down in a sense from people having real jobs. Everything is the gig economy, or if it's not the gig economy, it's the social services, or a lot of people's in the hospitality field. They're working at these little dummy jobs, and then the people at the working for high tech companies, they're getting laid off. And so then it's very difficult. And so I remember when Samuels was on talking about the high value man, $100,000. A lot of them sleeping in their cars. So I don't know what the hell you're going to do. What are you going to do? And these loans. I was talking to my grandson the other day, and I was saying, you should want to go to school near Chicago, and in Chicago you wouldn't have to borrow so much money. I said your cousin, she went down to Alabama, and she's paying all this money, and all they want to do is give you a loan. Oh yeah, they give you this scholarship, that grant, but then when it comes to housing, you got to get a loan to pay for that housing, and you don't get food on Sunday. What the hell is this? But again, in a sense, everybody has to learn. And so then that's why we need reparations. We need reparations so we can have more time in the sun, get more power. And I need my check. And if I could just get my check, I could be out there, because see, with a check, you can buy your own land. You can pay to go to college. You can start a business. And so a check is much better than land,
Absolutely. Cut the check.
Cut it right now,
Power is money. Maybe that should have been the title of the program. But
power is money, but also remember that's why they started. The most important thing that the white men ever started, and what they started to make sure that we could leave the house, is taxes.
Yep.
If you don't work and pay your taxes, they can take your house. Even if you've been paying on it for 30, 40 years, they can take your house after the mortgage is gone. And so that was just to make us have to go to work.
Mm-hmm. That force being inside. And, people are inside for 40 and 50 years before they have some resources to go outside. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy retirement or anything, but I find that, now, especially since the dollar is shit, or at least things cost so much, what you used to be able to do, you can't do now. You got to get creative. And now we're back to the conversation of people are having disconnects in real life, meeting people or having meaningful relationships because they've got these expectations about what we do when we go outside, when we should be worried about, is this motherfucker crazy? Maybe we should have some conversations, maybe we don't spend so much. And I'm not just talking about the dudes, fellas, I'm talking about the female too. She could be batshit crazy. And you've spent so much money to impress or to lay the foundation to get something later when other foundations hadn't been laid. People are out here looking for everything and nothing, not wanting to do the work, but wanting the benefit. They want, what did you call it? What did you call the melanin photosynthesis?
Melanosynthesis. Melanosynthesis. When you synthesize the sun and the melanin is producing that energy, melanosynthesis.
Yeah, I think people want to synthesize people's energy or get things from them just from proximity to, and not any of the nuances or intricacies that come with being a social people, being a people who create families, or being suns and moons to earths, and growing something or creating life or making something sustainable.
It's scary. You have to admit it's kind of scary, Like I remember a lot of times my wife, after we maybe had intercourse and said, well, I'm pregnant and stuff. Say, what? Okay. Well, I don't know. But the thing is, this is that. But then at the same time, you want to separate them maybe 2 years and all that type of stuff. So you had to use something, maybe in a whatever. But the point is this, is that in terms of nurturing, in terms of being able to use the sun effectively and being able, in a sense, to create this thing, is that it takes time to get to know each other. And I think that because of the fact we spend so much time at work and we come home tired, it's very hard to go into the sun and really get that melanosynthesis, be able to draw in that power from the sun. And that's why you'll find even Black people who have vitamin D deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact we can't really get that sun, to really be able to fight these diseases and to fight things. And if you notice, in a sense, is that during the pandemic, the more people that was out, the people who were out were the people, in a sense, the who they call the essential workers. The essential workers, they were the main ones not catching the pandemic, because they were out there in the environment, and they was, in a sense, being, letting the sun help them to fight, because the sun has power to help you fight disease. Mm-hmm. The sun has power to help you, like you said earlier, the sun can even help you to maybe not be so depressed or not so lonely. Mm-hmm. You can be, it can't stop you from being lonely, but it can maybe stop you, in a sense, from being, in a sense, succumbing to it or going into depression, Mm-hmm. And because it's so easy to be depressed.
Absolutely. And I mean, really, the lonely thing would improve itself if other people were outside, right? So it's a problem that could be fixed if people gave a damn about the other people around them, but we're so focused on the dollar and making sure that our lives make sense so that we can play later. We have aspirations of playtime, but we have to wait for it. I would challenge everybody who listens to us to maybe at lunchtime go outside just for a moment, just outside. And then, I guess go back inside if you have to. But when I started doing that, I started going outside at lunch. I didn't want to go back inside. So as a teacher, I started implementing recess because, man, F them people. I'm sorry. The children need the sun. I need the sun. We need to be outside of this building for a little bit. And, executive decision made. I guess that's power. When you start saying, I'm just going to do it, and then do it and let the consequences come if they're going to come. I never had any negative consequences as much as other children wanted to be in my class now. And now I have all of these children who I have zero relation to or needing to be in a class of mine, wanting to be with me because Miss Eve's class gets to go outside. Oh, Miss Eve's class gets to go outside. How do you get in Miss Eve's class? And that turned into a thing. But
that was a big thing because the schools went away from that because, it's just like when you could go home at 12 o'clock, when you had an hour to go home for lunch. That made a big difference in it. So sometimes you still stay at school, but it gave you a chance to really get out there in the sun and absorb that power. And then, in a sense, they took away recess. It was hard. It was a hard fight to get recess back in the schools in Chicago, because the fact is, this is that they just felt everything was supposed to be been, about hard work and all that. But that was in the public schools. The private schools, they were having this and they were having that. They were having recess.
Mm-hmm.
They was having time in the sun. But see, they always, we got all these AKAs. Stop, Clyde. Stop. You got all these AKAs running these school systems. I'm gonna be honest. You got these Alpha Kappa Alpha women running these school systems, and I'm sorry to say, these AKA sisters, they hire other AKA sisters, and they believe whatever's popular education wise, and they ruin so many school systems, public school systems around the country, that they should be ashamed of themselves. Yes, I'm talking about you. I'm sorry. I wasn't a brother in a fraternity, but AKAs, it may be some AKAs that are really down for Black people and Black education, but most AKAs I've found are not down. Deltas, so. Sigmas, all they want to do is partying anyway. I mean, so we don't think about Sigmas, but AKAs, they destroy so many public school systems because they don't think for themselves. They just go off whatever is popular, education wise, whatever they administrate, whatever the people over there tell them to do, they do it. I'm sorry. No, I'm not prejudiced against AKAs. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is not an AKA bash as much as
right.
The shoe fits. Do something about it if you don't want that shoe to fit. But you're right. People, well, I always thought it was strange, people not in the classroom wanting to run the classroom, but that's across the board. People making the decisions for the people in it. They're not in it. They're making the decisions for the people in it. So I guess they're in something else or not. It's an illusion because they're also in it, but then you still give privileges, special.
But that's the way it's always been. Education has never been ran by educators. See, because remember education, public education was started by the business community. So you can know just enough so that you can come and work for them.
Right.
So then therefore education has never been, teacher centered. Education has always been dictated to us by the people. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, if you remember, the public school teacher, they had to come usually to a town and they lived in somebody's house. Mm-hmm. Doctors too. That's why the two lowest paid fields, yes, is medicine and education, because they feel that we should do that for free.
I hear them, but if that's the case, then we should all be healing and educating ourselves. Free 99 on that. But if you don't or can't, then maybe you should pay someone to. I was talking to our oldest son, Minnie, and he asks all the time, why does he have to go to school? He doesn't like being in school. He very much wants to be done with this and on to something else. And I tell him all the time, master everything you need to master, and you don't have to be here. You could be doing something else. And I think if you give them that approach, either they're going to say, yes, I'm going to knuckle down and I'm going to master all of this, or they're going to say, maybe I'm gonna just chill and I'm gonna relax. We got spring break coming up. It's not so bad on this side of the tracks, but
that's because boys want to do everything today instead of tomorrow. You see, back when I was growing up, in a sense, you had to have some discipline. Your father wanted you to have some discipline, but even then, people want to go the easy way. And that's why most boys don't want to go to school. Most boys don't want to go to college. And then later, in a sense, oh, Dad, I wish I would have went to college. Well, I sent you, but you didn't stay. Well, I wanted a car. Yeah, you wanted a car, so you quit school to go to work to get that car. When you could have waited and you could have got maybe a better car, Mm-hmm. And so you find this disconnect. The moon, women, they want to go to college. The sun, men, they want to, in a sense, they want to get things without putting any work into it. I remember I used to teach I used to teach in I used to teach when I was teaching at Governor State. A lot of times I had to teach classes on site. I taught education administration graduate courses, and so a lot of times I would be at these white schools, and so then I would be teaching the faculty there, maybe educational psychology or leadership and things like that. And the interesting thing is that they would talk about the kids, how a lot of kids in high school, they want to do this, they want to do that. And then when they get to be a senior, they think that they can go out and get all these good jobs without ever really applying themselves. And see, this is something that is very important, is that how do we get boys, the son, to understand that they have to sometime prepare themselves for the future instead of thinking everything is just going to fall in line. Timbuk 2.0 says, in order to transmute high cosmic solar sunlight energy, you have to vibrate on a higher frequency in order to have a symbolic relationship with the sun. That's true. But that means in a sense that you have to give and take. And a lot of times fellas want to be recognized as the sun, recognized as leaders, but they don't want to go out and they don't want to apply themselves. And this is really sad. And you'd be surprised how many of these kids go in high school and they've got everything written and they've never even took the right class. They never even, in a sense, tried to get any training. At least in the past, when I went to school, we had shop. Because we had shop, you could maybe get into bricklaying, things like that, so it could prepare you for a job today. But see, nowadays, at least in Chicago, to study a trade, you had to go to a suburban school out in the suburbs. And since they don't want you in the suburbs, or you don't have the money, and therefore you can't get into trades. I was thinking today when they were talking about that bridge that was collapsed in Baltimore, and then they was talking about the construction workers, and they were all immigrants, and it's a lot of brothers who would like to have a construction job. When I was in college, my father, he used to do construction. I helped build the Sears Tower in Chicago. Well, not the Sears. This has got another name now. I was up there on the top of that building. And see, back in the day, most of the people who did the construction was black men. But then, in a sense, they stopped hiring us. And that was a nice job. You made nice money and stuff. And now they're saying that you don't want a construction job. The immigrants are doing all the work and they're not getting paid money. No, they could give black people those jobs. They just don't want to give us those jobs. Yep. And so it's very difficult. How do you have a family? Somebody was saying, I remember someone was saying it's got to be a husband and a wife. It's got and before you should have children. But how can you get married? Like my grandson, he's what, 28? He made 28 the other day. So he's 28 now. And and so how do they get married? That's all they talk about. How can we get married? You're only making a little bit of money, Right. How do you get married? How do you be the sunshine in your wife's eye when you're not making hardly any money and she's not making hardly any money, and then you're afraid to really have a baby, back in the day. I mean, hey, I'll admit, back in the day, people probably looked at me and my wife and we were what? She was 27 and I was 29 and we had 5 kids. People say, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what's wrong with you dummies? And so then but I mean, we had a lot of kids, and when you got a lot of kids, everybody kind of against you. But see, if you have your kids under control, then they still talk about you, because the point is this, is that they just feel that there's something wrong with you. You're young, you're still looking muscle bound, looking gorgeous like you, and you got all these kids and people say, what happened? and see that's the whole point. But see, the thing is this, is that it's understanding that as the sun and the moon, as they rotate, as they cause the reflection. See, that's the whole point, is that you come together to make those children, and that you have to, in a sense, somewhere along the line, be able to give your children something to live up to, something to aspire to. I always felt that as a father, I had to look at my father. Nobi, in a sense, some people said he was a hoe. I don't know about all that, but he was a light-skinned brother with gray eyes. So I think the women made him do it. But anyway, my father, he did teach me this. He said, he taught me that you should always try to be a man. He told me that you should always try to take care of your family. He told me that you should never give up on your family. You shouldn't leave. You shouldn't leave no matter how hard it got. You should stay with your woman and raise your children. And this is what my father taught me. My father taught me that my father taught me that it's about strength. And maybe it's wrong to think like that. But he told me that as a man, you are like the sun. You're supposed to be strength. You're supposed to, in a sense, be a leader. Your kids are supposed to look at you as an example. And even to this day, I still feel my father was the strongest man on the planet because that was my dad. I didn't want him going out. Some people say my dad could be trash. Well, I didn't want my father to be in all that. But I still felt that my father was the epitome of manhood to me. He was the epitome of how to live. And I've tried to model my life on what my father taught me. Never come home at the same time. Because then your wife will get upset when you don't make it home. Never tell your wife how much you make. You don't want them to worry about money. So don't tell them how much you make. And then you two can pay the bills and make sure your wife always, if you do, a lot of cowards, a lot of men, they don't like to pay the bills. So they'll try to get their women money to pay the bills. I think it should be a joint relationship. But I always felt that even though my wife, except when we first got married, she was working at the post office. But other than that, I always felt that even though my wife didn't work, I always felt that we had to have 3 bank accounts. She had to have a bank account. I had a bank account, and then we had a joint account. Because the thing is that I think that a woman always has to have her own money, and it's just like a woman has to have her own house. That's one of the reasons why we can't really have a polygamous family over here. We couldn't have polygamous families because as a man, if I have more than one wife, each wife is going to have her own place to stay because they're not going to stay in the same place. Those like Hebrews, I don't know how they do it. But again, if you can get somebody mind, you can get them to do anything maybe. But this whole idea about being sunshine, moon, I don't know. I'm sorry. Anyway.
No, you're right. I think that your dad being the example that your family used or had, that's how dads are supposed to be. I mean, whether it's a good example or a bad example, he is going to show you something or not because he's not there. And then there's an example for you in that. But I think that once the sun and the moon come together and have some earths or little things that they're making life happen on, creating life, we don't want it to just be one way. The earth can't only have the sun because then how does the water move? The sun's not making the water move. The earth can't only have the moon because you only see her because of the sun. It's a necessary combination. And, the fact that even in the celestial space, they're never in the same space, because they're not doing the same thing. And I think, oh, go ahead.
I felt that when I was growing up, I felt that black women had to raise black men. And what I mean by that is that I felt that they had to always make you strong. And the way they wanted to make you strong was that they never told you that they loved you. They never told you in the sense that you were important. They always told you, be a man, stand up, fight, do this, blah, blah, blah. Whereas I feel that my wife and many black women today, they're raising human beings. And there's a difference. Because when they were raising us to be black men, they were making us cold. They was making us, in a sense, very aloof. They was making us arrogant. They was making us, in a sense, feeling that we should totally dominate our women. Whereas I feel that my wife and many women in this generation, they're raising human beings where you're raising your kids to respect the opposite sex. You're raising your kids in a sense to understand that the most important thing in a relationship is not love but respect. Because if you respect your mate and your partner respects you, then there can be progress. And see, this is one of the things that how you doing, Tom's Fire, essential with Emmanuel. I think it's very important in the sense that we understand that there's always a sun and a moon relationship. And because there's a sun and a moon relationship, then you have to, in a sense, recognize that there's things that we have to do. And the best way to be able to do these things is to understand that we're in a partnership. And this whole idea, in the sense that the sun should rule, okay, that's cool. The sun should be in a position of maybe, prominence. But at the same time, in a sense, is that in terms of trying to make sure that you gain power from the sun, that means, in a sense, the way you gain power from your sun, if you're a man, and you know, we even suggested that men could be sons, the sun. If you're gonna be the sun, then you have to reflect in the sense of positivity. If you're going to be the sun, then you have to be able, in a sense, to know that that this is important. Natty asked a good question. Natty said, I have a kind of dumb question. Are there some nights that the moon is completely not in the sky? Um, if it's a rainy night, maybe, or if the clouds are covering the sky. But remember, in a sense, the moon is supposed to always be up there, unless it's some sort of something that's keeping the moon away. But see, that's the most important thing to understand. That's why when we started this, I referred to women in a sense as the moon. And the reason, in a sense, that I see women as the moon, not just because women invented the calendar, but also, in a sense, remember, in a sense, is that the moon in a sense creates who you are, what you are. The moon, in a sense, because of the fact that it can move the waters, and we know, in a sense, that we're what, you know, we're mainly made up of water. And since we're mainly made up for water, then naturally, in a sense, the moon or woman is going to have a greater effect on us, you see, than, in a sense, the sun, which is in a sense man in a way. But the whole point is that we have to understand that there's this relationship between the sun and the moon, and that because of the fact, in a sense, that even though you are the sun, if you're a man, at the same time you're the sun, you always have to remember, in the sense, that you're allowed to be the sun. You see, you're not just the sun because the fact is that he's up in the sky, he's above everybody else. No, he's above women. No, you're not above women. You're not above anybody. The only thing is that you should be that example. You should be able, in a sense, to shine a light on your children. You should be able to shine a light on your friends, and you should be able to shine a light on anybody that comes past you, in the sense that you should be, in a sense, showing off positivity. You should be sharing with the rest of mankind, in a sense, a love, for nature, a love for who you are, and a love for what you are. You see, the sun is important because the fact is that the sun nurtures us. The sun is important because it helps the plants to grow, and it has that power. And because it helps the plants to grow, it gives us sustenance. You see, it gives us sustenance. It's the sun, in a sense, that makes planting so that the fish can have, in a sense, food to eat. You see, it's the sun that allows, in a sense, flowers to take in the minerals and then have the energy to produce, the foods that we eat. And so the sun is very important. So there is power in that. And so then if you do want to, in a sense, say that many men, in a sense, can represent the sun, that's so true. But I think also is that when you're in a family, you find, in a sense, that mother, she's also representative of the sun. And the reason that she's representative of the sun is that she nurtures us. She protects us. She allows us to be able to grow and to know who and what we are. And see, the problem is that we've been conditioned to feel, in a sense, that there has to be a dichotomy, has to be a separation of man. It's hard to get, in a sense, get people together. But when you understand, in a sense, that you're bringing both together, and when you're bringing both together, then therefore, in a sense, you're able to create positivity because you bring together the moon and the sun, and that's very important.
It is. And as it stands, I guess the full moon that we had the other night, and the upcoming solar eclipse that we have, the weather here is kind of crazy. I don't know if y'all saw the flickering lights, but I lost power. And we've been talking about power all night, right? So I found it fitting, a fitting interruption. But I'm glad that you were able to keep the conversation going at least until we end it. Because reality check, when storms are really bad, you shouldn't be on all these devices.
Oh, that's growing up black. Oh boy, back in the day, your mom wanted everything turned off. Turn off that
Everything got
TV,
to be turned off.
sit down, be quiet, and all
Be
that.
quiet.
Don't somebody, But my mom used to always say, "Yeah, that plane crash, you're killing those white folks." Now we fly planes, so we can't say that. But it was, I remember in the senses that, you know, it's very, it's very interesting that in terms of power, sunlight, and it's how do you gain your power? Because see, to me, a lot of times I'll go somewhere and I'll say, hey, I'll tell the lady, hey, let's get that frown off your face, smile, give me some sunshine, and I really believe this. I really believe that even though we've said that sometimes a man can be representative of the sun, I think also a good woman or a woman can be representatives of the sun. I think that I had those teachers and I had those women in my life, grandmoms. Your grandma and your auntie. It's always a grandma and an auntie that just make your heart beat a little faster, make you just feel so good. And so I think in a sense is that there's no single gender that can really produce that sunshine. I think it's how you feel that you release power.
I like that. How you feel is how you release power. Absolutely. I'm gonna agree with that wholeheartedly and say that everybody, I guess, can is like a seed, and you can be a seed that's sprouted, or you can be a seed that never sees the sun. You know, and then even if you sprout, it's there's not saying that you're gonna produce anything worth producing. You know, you might yield a bad crop, but it doesn't mean that the next year that you pop back up that you can't do something else. And I like that nature always gives us an example that makes sense, because if people aren't ready, then it's not your time. But if you are ready, then why not? Sprout up, say something, do something, let's go, let's be there. And I think that when that happens, maybe through some sort of telekinesis, do the other seeds find that it's safe to sprout too? The conditions are right. I'm going to go ahead and make my debut, and then let the elements and life start lifing.
But do you think a lot of that is when you can feel that you can do what you want to do? Because I think a lot about today is that the modern family is that I think today a lot of women don't feel as free as other women. Some women feel free enough that I'm going to work, I'm going to have children, and I'm going to enjoy my life. Like I love ABC. It's this black girl, and she's the on the weekend she's the one of the sports people. She has her children and she come back to work and then it looked like she even talked for this other sister to be the sports person. And I love that, because back in the day, it used to be a lot of sister builders and brother builders. But now we got so many sister fuckers and brother fuckers who just spend their time trying to bring people down. And then we got people talking about that we got to get the pork chop feminists and all that type of stuff. And I just feel like this is that I think if people could be allowed to do what they want to do, it's much better. I mean,
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know,
When you feel free, you start moving in a way that makes sense for you. And it might not necessarily make sense for other people, but what you're doing, has more purpose. People who are punching a clock and are on a hamster wheel, they are trying to find time to be free, because they know that they're a slave to their job, the desk, the work. And these brother fuckers and sister fuckers, they know how to use people like that, because it's the example that the people in power give us. Be a user, be a vampire, be a caveman, take, you want it now, so you can kind of be like the sun, And you can be like the moon. I want you to be super emotional. I want you to just do things and not think about it. But those are like the negative aspects of us. You know, we have a whole other side that we could be tapping into if you wanted to, but maybe it's because you don't feel free enough to. You know, you have to take that power back. I don't have half the time to do most of the stuff that I do, but I make the time. I find the time. I will do something more now so that I can have more time later. And I find that people make these sacrifices in other arenas of their life, but they won't make it across the board. And maybe they're afraid of the responsibility. You know, maybe they're afraid of what that looks like once you start owning your life. It gets scary.
Whoa. It is scary to own your own life, because see, when you own your own life, that means, in a sense, see, a lot of people have been conditioned. A lot of people have been conditioned that because we're POWs, because we're prisoners of war, that we can't have any good feelings in the yard. But we can. Sometimes we can go in the yard and we can feel good about this stuff. We can at least pretend that we have a relationship with our partners, because at least we have those two places. As a teacher, I had two places that I felt powerful. I had two places where I felt happy. I had two places that I felt were in control. And that was in my home and in my classroom. I felt that once I closed that door, then I could be that light. I could be that sun to shine on these kids and try to give them the opportunity to catch on to that genetic memory. Because I always felt that education is allowing our children to experience as much as they can in their life. And if you give them enough experiences in the classroom, maybe they'll catch on to something that they want to do that relates to that genetic memory. How do you see your experience as a teacher?
It is a powerful position to be in. I've been in a position where I've had students come to my class after feeling like shit because the teacher that they just left made them feel like shit. And I don't know that they went out of their way to do it as much as they didn't care.
They did.
So then they don't care about the affect, you know, and then this student, you know, could have just gone through their day with nobody who cares about, you know, how they feel. And then they get to me. And I don't like that. You're not going to have no frowny face, mopey face, that energy. I don't like it. So we're going to fix it now because you're not going to learn. And you got all this other stuff on your brain. Nope. We're gonna squash that. And for the next hour or 90 minutes or whatever, we're going to focus, because all that other stuff is, it matters, but it's not going to matter right now. You know, we can address it later. So
that's why I love teaching. I love teaching upper grade, because when I taught high school, because I was a compassionate teacher, you know, you have these girls come to you talking about their mother's boyfriend raping them. You know that they're being abused in the home. I just couldn't take that stuff, because I used to call them situational things. And see, as a teacher, I can't affect a situation. I can maybe call DCF. I can maybe call, you know, Department of Family and Services. But the whole point is that can cause problems there too. And so then I felt better teaching undergrad. I felt better teaching upper grade, because in elementary school they don't. At least when I was teaching, they didn't tell you all their deepest problems. They didn't tell you about the home problems. And you know, when you're teaching high school, girls are having so many problems with, especially when you're teaching in the community, in the hood, and the fact that a lot of them come from families where their moms are letting these men come into their houses and all that type of stuff. So it's hard. It's very hard on you as a teacher when you keep hearing about what's being done to your students and you can't do anything about it. You know, and yeah, maybe call me a coward, but it's hard, because see, when as a man, I remember that we had a kindergarten teacher, and she was a white teacher. She said, Dr. Winters, you men get on my damn nerves. I said, why do you say that we get on your nerves? She said, because Clyde, I just want to talk about how I feel. I just want to talk about something that happened to me, but you always got to find a solution. And I said I said, hey, I thought that's why you brought it up to me. You wanted a solution. And then she said, no, we don't want solutions all the time, Clyde. We don't want solutions. We just want you to listen. And this is one of the hardest things I think that makes it hard for us to really be partners in relationships is that you're just talking and I want to make a correction as the son when you just want somebody to listen sometime, and that's very hard, very hard.
Absolutely. But then that kind of goes back to what we originally talked about, the black man and the black woman. If we even look at the sun and the moon as the same, or if there's differences in our perception there. And I think that there are and will be on purpose necessary, because we're not doing the same thing. You're never going to know what it feels like to birth a child. Ever.
I don't want to.
And I'm never going to know what it feels like to get kicked in the nuts. And I don't want to,
I heard that.
But inside of those differences, we can come together and really make some really powerful things rock. We can build the best businesses. We can make the best trends, and we can foster the best environments, and we can rear some badass kids. But it's a partnership and a balance that's necessary. It can't be all emotion, and it can't be so structured. That if it were supposed to be all one way, then the man and the woman would look the same. We would have the same pieces and parts, and then who cares who does what? As much as some things should be self-evident. You should be able to wipe your own ass, but if you need help, then hopefully you got your moon there or your son, and you got someone there that you trust who can help you out. But it shouldn't be that you didn't know how to do it. But like I think I told you in the past, growing up, my parents didn't let me cut grass or pump gas. That was for my brother. Those were things for the boys to do. And as such, dishes and laundry, not that they didn't learn how to do it, but that wasn't their chore. We learn different things growing up because we're supposed to be doing different things growing up. But there's power in owning your life and saying that you're going to do something and then going and doing it.
Yeah, because it's just like my mom always wanted us to learn all that good stuff. Because just like now, my wife is gone. I had to admit I was spoiled, but now that my wife has died and I had to take care of me, it's no fun because I depend on her to be my Rolodex. I depend on her to, in a sense, to be everything that I didn't want to do or couldn't do. And see, I think that it's trying in a sense to do just what Natty said, the duality of our reality, keeping the balance. And that's very hard. We went over 2 hours. Did you want to say something to close?
Actually, I wanted to address something Natty asked in the chat. I think he said, Natty said, is there a time when the moon is just not there? And no, the moon's always there. You just might not be able to see it, right? Because of the clouds. And, I think that our perception, how we actually see things, with our physical eyes and then our mind's eye, it matters. So if we're looking for something that's not there, then maybe we start to feel a certain way. But if we know that it's there and we just can't see it, maybe we just need some time. I think that this power conversation and time is going to overlap all the time. I don't mean to be redundant, but I think that with time, we can understand power. And like we studied the sun, people who got here later saw us worshiping the sun when really we're just respecting all that it can do. And, your immaturity here or your ignorance in our practices doesn't mean that it's something that we should forsake or even something that we should rename, worship of versus respect of. We can own things if we care. And if you care, then claim it. And
if you care, claim it. You guys have a great evening. Good night.
Good night.